Hi, and welcome to EDS 500 Research Methods. This is for summer of 2020 in the second part of the 4-week sessions. So basically, we're doing the course in July, even though I think it starts at the very end of June. So I'm Andrea Hyde. You can call me Dr. Hyde or call me Andrea. I'm not very formal, especially with graduate students, and I don't need any kind of deference. This is the second time that I've taught this course. The first time was 2 years ago, and I had just created the course version that I'm teaching using the textbook that I selected, specifically designed for a 4-week format. And I got a lot of positive feedback back from the students 2 years ago, and I hope you'll find that the course has been designed with not just the 4-week schedule in mind, but with the idea that educators are at home, possibly caring for children or adults, possibly taking another course or having other responsibilities. And I chose a textbook also that applies research specifically to education. So there are lots of good introductory textbook for research methods out there, but the one that I chose is written by educators and discusses exclusively educational research. What you're looking at right now is the home page for the course. So everything that you need to complete the assignments you're looking at right now, with the exception of your textbook, right? So you do need to buy the textbook. You're going to read all of it. Don't be afraid by its size. It's written with lots of examples and tables. So it's not like you're going to be reading pages and pages of text in here. So I like this because of what they call the pedagogy, all the different charts and extension exercises. I will warn you that some of the exercises that I've asked you to do are a modification of what's in the book. So be sure to read the directions attached to the assignments that you see in this course rather than what you find in the textbook. At first glance, it might look like they're exactly the same, but in some cases, I've modified them to make them shorter or to require less. Again, thinking about 4 weeks and what you need to get out of the text by way of example. So I'm trying not to ask you to do things that would amount to just busy work, but I am asking you to do things that will help you to learn and retain information in a way that you can later apply it to actually do research. I see that a lot of you on the roster are working on doctoral degrees. You absolutely are going to have to do research. Those of you who are taking the course who are in master's programs, if you're in my program, Educational Studies, you have a choice as to whether or not you do empirical research as part of a thesis. And in fact, you might not be doing a thesis at all, but you'll have that opportunity and you'll be prepared to take a course that focuses more exclusively on quantitative research or on qualitative research once you take this course. Those of you in other programs, in some of the C&I programs, will have to do an applied research project. And the directions for that project are extensive and specific, so you don't have to worry about that right now. But I think what you're learning about in this course will make doing an applied research project later on make sense, make it easier for you. You'll be prepared for that. So that's what I kept in mind when I was choosing a text and the assignments and designing the course, was that this course was going to lay the foundation for research, but that you would be taking a course at least in quantitative or qualitative and maybe both methods later on as part of your program. So let's take a look at this just a little bit. These are meant to make you laugh, so please read them and laugh, especially once you get into some material that you find challenging. I'll admit to you right now that I'm a purely qualitative researcher, and you can read more about what I do in the Getting Started module right here. If you go to the Getting Started folder, here's the professor and course information. So you can read about my scholarship. And if you see here that the links that are mentioned in this overview HTML page are going to be found here too. So if you're ever looking for something and a link doesn't work on the HTML pages, come back to home, go into the module folders, and you'll probably find the things that we're linked to. All right. So when I was thinking of the assignments, specifically of the assignments for quantitative research, I made sure to find information that made it easy for me to use the test and to research. So I hope that what I've gathered for you, the resources I've gathered for you, make that easy for you. And if quantitative research is something that you find easy, but qualitative research is really something that puzzles you, I added some supplements that kind of explain the philosophy behind qualitative research, and I've been able to offer you some examples of my own work too. So hopefully there is something here for everyone. And I suggest you approach the course with the idea that you are going to learn something new and you want to learn something new. And what that means is that at some point, you're not going to know what's going on. You're not going to know what you're doing. When you get to that point, remember that you're learning, that this is something new and that you're learning. Research has its own language, just like every other field. So if you haven't had a research course before, you're going to encounter some new vocabulary. So just to approach it with that spirit that you're learning a new language, you're learning a new subject. If you look at the announcements, these now are, I guess, frequently asked questions from 2 years ago that I think that are going to make the course more, a little easier for you to navigate. Hopefully the questions that the students had 2 years ago are going to be some of the questions that you have, and that then, and as you ask questions to me this year, I'll keep adding to here. So we'll keep making the course easier and easier for students in the future. But I would say go to the announcements tool, or you can look at the announcements here and say show all announcements. And then what you'll do, you'll be reading from the bottom up. And so the first assignment, or the first announcement, tells you that all of the PowerPoints, all of the slide presentations that are narrated by me in this course are also here as PowerPoints for you to download. Why would you want to do that? Well, you'll be able to access the hyperlinks from the PowerPoints, but you can't access them from the presentations, which are actually YouTube videos. What I'm using to make these recordings is a tool called Screencastify, and they automatically convert to YouTube videos. There are other formats that you can convert the video data to, but YouTube is just fine for me to use with Western Online. So if you have a question about the course, I would say come to the announcements page and take a look and see if you can't find what you're looking for. And at some point, just go ahead and take a look at the announcements anyway, because it provides resources that it's going to make your job of completing the assignments a little easier. So besides the content browser, where you're going to be focusing mostly on reading from the overviews, right? So always go to the overviews first, and that's where you're going to find the presentations as well. When you go to submit your assignments, you're going to come up here to Assessments, Assignments, and click that, and you're going to find them all here. So in this course, you're going to have 4 different critiques of articles. And then you have 6 articles to read and answer questions about. And some of the articles overlap, so don't think it's a total of 10 now, because I'm trying to do double duty with the articles to contain the total amount that you have to read in 4 weeks. And then you have 5 chapter exercises to answer. And again, be careful. It's going to look at first like they're exactly the same exercises in the book, but I've simplified some of them. So just read the assignments. So I'll show you an example for the first one. So as soon as you pop it open, you'll see exactly what the assignment asked you to do. So develop a series of research questions specific to each of the 6 qualitative methodologies. So this should clue you in. I am only looking for questions here. That means that chances are, if you read this question in the book, there'd be more work for you to do. So only do as much work as what's required of you here in the description of the assignments. And that goes for all of the other assignments as well. So again, you get to them from assessments and then assignments. I don't suggest using email through the Western Online. I don't think it's very good, and I can't respond directly back to you. When you send me an email through Western Online, it comes to my Western email, but I can't reply to it from there. So I would say just open your Western email and send me an email from there. And with regard to email, I'm going to make it easier for everyone, unless you tell me that this is a private concern and you don't want this shared, I'm going to reply to your questions about the course to everyone. That just helps us. In a live course situation, everyone would hear your question and your response as well. And that also prevents me from having to answer multiple questions. And it clarifies some things for people. Maybe they didn't even think to ask a question, but they benefit from reading about someone else's question and their response. And it's always nice to know also that other people are out there wondering and struggling and a little bit confused. And I love your questions. Your questions help me to be a better course designer and a better teacher. So don't hesitate. Don't think your questions are stupid. Chances are someone else has the same question too. And what your questions tell me is that there's something I haven't anticipated, and you give me an opportunity to make the course easier for others. Okay, so other than that, I do not check to see who's hanging out online, how much time you spend in the course. This is entirely individual, self-paced. There aren't any group assignments. There aren't any requirements for you to engage in shared discussions, nothing like that. You have 4 weeks to read an entire textbook and do several assignments, and you can do it. But that means we're not going to engage with a lot of discussion. That being said, when I send out emails to everyone and when I answer your questions, you'll see everyone's email on there, and there's nothing stopping you from working with others or forming support groups or doing this with others, but that's for you to reach it on your own. I don't have any designed collaborative assignments in this course. 4 weeks. All right. So I'm going to show you the syllabus now, and we'll go through that just a little bit. And if you want to know where the syllabus is found, it's under Home, Getting Started, Syllabus and More. And then here's the syllabus and schedule of assignments. So I have them opened already down here. That's what the syllabus looks like. And this is what the schedule of assignments looks like. So let me start here with the schedule of assignments, because this might be the most important piece of paper or image, if you don't print things, that, for this course. So the modules are arranged in 4 weeks. So everything that you see in here reading across is due at the end of the first week. Okay, so the course officially starts on June 29th. Everything here is due by, I don't say midnight because that confuses people, but 11:59 p.m. on that Sunday, July 5th. And same here. So everything you see here is due at the end of the second week. Everything here due the end of the third week. Everything here due the end of the fourth week. And note, this is out of my control. The course actually ends not on a Sunday in this fourth week, but on a Friday. And that's because we have to have our grades in, I think, the following Monday. So just be alert to that. I've tried to keep that in mind as well. That's why you don't have any exercises or readings or extra readings here. You have your one article for analysis, and you have quizzes. Okay, so the only time that you're going to be accessing a website outside of the course is to do the quizzes, right? And that's chapter 12 and chapter 13. And the place that you go to find that is to your companion website. So if you forget about this, a lot of what I'm saying now is duplicated in the overview page under Getting Started. So you'll be able to read that as well. But the syllabus is also hyperlinked. So if you go here, you'll find the student support website, the companion website. So I'll show you where the quizzes are. So we said 12 and 13, and there's quiz for 12. Right, you start your quiz. And you want immediate feedback. And so what you're going to do, you're going to, and I'm not even paying attention to these, you're going to select your answers, right? Whoops, submit. That happened to be the right one, and you just keep going, okay? So at the end of this, it'll give you an opportunity to send this to me, and you send the results of your quiz to my Western email address. Again, you don't have to worry about remembering this stuff. It's written in the modules, and when you get to the last week, there'll be instructions there. But it's nice to see it. It's nice to have somebody go over it with you, isn't it? I thought so. There's other things that you can take a look at too on the companion website if you're interested. So to the degree possible, I tried to use the articles that were suggested by the authors of this textbook. But after 2 years, I felt like I needed to do some updates. And after going through the course once, I realized how absolutely impenetrable some of the articles were. So I yanked some of those and found things that were just easier to read too. But don't let anything stop you from going through any of the resources that are on this companion web page. I just wanted you to know that the only reason you need to access this is to do your quizzes for chapter 12 and chapter 13. Okay, so there again is the book. And so you can get that from the bookstore, you can get that from Sage, you can get that from Amazon. You are going to read the entire book, so it's worth getting. If you haven't yet used our library resources, we have even more now. The pandemic encouraged libraries to make more of their holdings available, so we have access to more databases and to more electronic journals. We had a great collection to begin with, and now we have even more. And we have librarians too. So you can contact the librarians for help with your searches. I've included here some of the journals that you might want to use, because as part of the course, you're going to be looking for some articles to support a brief review of literature. And I'll talk about that later on as we go down the syllabus, but that's the library's link. And this is just a few of the research journals. So if you are looking for support for your methodologies, these are good places to start. If you're looking for support for the background of your problem of practice, you're going to go to your field-oriented journal. So for example, social studies or English or math or physical education or science. Formatting. Our department, I think our entire school uses APA. Our favorite online source is the online writing lab, the OWL from Purdue, and there's a link for there. And then there are some handy quick citation generators for websites, and then information for citing social media. And if you're looking for citing things that aren't included here, you can go to the OWL and take a look at some of their things. So I also like to use Google just to say, how do you cite a PowerPoint presentation in APA? And you'll go to some of the APA style blogs. And if someone else has asked that question, you'll again get to benefit from the answer there. So I use that quite a lot. There's no need to remember these things anymore. You can read and enjoy the course objectives on your own. You can ponder them and ask me about them if you want. I'm going to guess that you aren't that thrilled about them. But like I said, in addition to wanting to give you a good foundation of research broadly interpreted, I'm also hoping to set you up for further exploration into quantitative, qualitative, or both kinds of research. This course does mention mixed methods, and I appreciate the way that it does discuss mixed methods. Mixed methods done well is very difficult and not something that I encourage novice researchers to do. If you do it, I would say do it with a partner. And chances are, if you're doing research as part of a degree program, that's not going to be possible for you. So resist the urge to want to try mixed method research for your first ever research project for your degree program. Yes, it can be a method that lends a broader explanation to your question. You might have a question that could be answered with both quantitative and qualitative methods. And in this book, it sets you up for doing a quantitative leading or qualitative leading study, which means you're doing a basic quantitative or qualitative design, but you are making use of quantitative or qualitative data. It's a little different from traditional mixed method research, in which case you're supposed to be mixing at all levels of the research. It's very sophisticated, and again, I don't encourage it for novice researchers, but if you say, I have to have some descriptive statistics, or I have to have some open-ended answers in my survey, that's okay. There's a good way to do that. I myself would not call that mixed methods research. If you end up doing that, if you encounter me on your committee for your research project, I'll be one to say, hey, mixed methods research is something unique and very hard, and Okay, so just keep that in mind. But on the other hand, I'm also someone that encourages novice researchers to try things out. So if you encounter information in this course and you're like, some of these research methods don't make any sense to me, and I like a little bit of that and a little bit of this, it's wonderful to try those out. Just remember, when you're doing it for a degree program, you have to show some competency. You have to do a good job too. So play around in the courses, and there are other courses. In my 504 course, you have a chance to play around. That's where you try things out. When you get to the research that counts for your degree program, have in mind something that you can do well, I guess. And this is your chance for finding that out. Okay, so I am evaluating the quality of your work. I'm not just counting points, right? You're not just turning something in and I'm counting and you get points for everything that's turned in. I'm actually going to read the stuff that you turn in and make sure that it's complete. That said, I'm going to ask you questions and ask you for more information if something isn't complete. But there won't be the opportunity for revisions here, just like there won't be the opportunity for late work. With the example, or with the exception of the problem of practice sketch, which you do have an opportunity to turn in as a draft, we just don't have time for that. But don't be afraid, because I'm also going to go easy on you. I'm going to assume everyone here is a novice researcher, and I'm not going to expect you to know everything. But if you follow the directions, if you do all your work completely, you're going to do well. It's just set up that way. Everyone has done well in this course so far last year. Okay, I have a pretty good turnaround speed. This course always feels very busy, so it's a lot of work for you and a lot of work for me. I am going to try to respond within 3 days of the submission deadline. That doesn't mean within 3 days of when you submit your work, but 3 days of the submission deadline. And remember, that's going to be for the first 3 weeks, midnight on the Sunday of the end of the week, and then at the final week, Friday, midnight Friday of that final week. So, it's if you're someone who's doing the course ahead of time, I opened this at the beginning of June, you have all your assignments done, you're still going to have to wait for me to get to them. It's the only way that I can manage this course is by following the deadlines. I showed you the assignment folders. I already explained that I can't accept late work, and you are going to have an opportunity for submitting a draft of your problem of practice assignment. That's the one that's probably the most ask you for to be creative and to put elements together that you might need some help with. So I've taken that into consideration. Here's how the course breaks down. Oh, that's going to bother me. You have to turn in a human subject certification certificate, and this is what every researcher at the university has to do. It's quite easily. There are online modules, and once you do that as a student, then when you go to do empirical research for your degree program, you won't have to do it again. And you don't even have to think about keeping a copy, even though that's nice. Western will have access to be able to check to see that you've done this. You've got a literature review form, which is just a worksheet that helps you to develop your problem of practice sketch. You've got your article responses that I pointed out on Western Online. You have your article analyses that I pointed out. They're called critiques as well. I borrowed that assignment from Sharon Stevens, and she calls them critiques. And then there's some chapter exercises. So you saw these. Let's take a look at the problem of practice sketch and how the literature review form fits in there. So here's the link for the human subject certification. If you click on there, you'll be taken to the link. You select that you're taking this as part of Western, and at the end, you'll be able to submit and print the certificate. So what I'm asking for you to do is for you to keep a copy for yourself and upload one for this course. So you're getting credit, you're getting points in this class for doing this, but also later on when you go to do research, the IRB board won't be saying you have to go back and do this training. So this is 100 points for this course just for doing this. Okay, so your abbreviated literature review, you do this with a worksheet. I'll show you what it looks like down here. So if you answer these questions, it's going to make finding your resources for your review of literature for the problem of practice sketch a lot easier. So you answer these questions. Here's a place to list your sources in APA format. And again, there's the link to the online writing lab at Purdue. So you don't even have to go outside of this worksheet to do that. And then answer the questions about your topics and subtopics and your conclusions, right? And this is APA format. This is actually the textbook that a lot of the other 500 instructors use. I thought this was really great as a way to help you organize the literature that you want to use for your problem of practice sketch. So the problem of practice sketch is like a mini research proposal. I didn't want to call it that because people think of that as being a larger assignment, and it kind of makes them nervous. So this is the language that Lockmiller and Lester, your textbook authors, use, the problem of practice sketch. And it is. It's just a sketch of your ideas. Like I said, this is the place where you play around with your ideas. So not just coming out of your head, not something you have to make up, but using all of the resources in your textbook and every other supplemental piece of information that I'm providing here. You're just answering these questions. So the first one, right? Nobody can help you with that one. What problem of practice are you interested in? Yet these authors early on are going to show you examples of problems of practice, so you won't be completely new to this idea. And then you go back to use the statement of research, right? So you use your literature review worksheet to generate this 2 to 3 paragraph section. So this is something that you would do first before you started to complete this. Although you might be thinking of your problem from the first time you pop into the course. And then 3 asks you to start sketching a research methodology. Again, a board that sometimes gives people a little anxiety, but it's your initial thoughts about how you might study the problem. And that's exactly what methodology is. And we choose the method that helps us to best answer our questions. So look at table 1.1 for examples of research paradigms. Look at figure 1.1 for example of methodologies. Look at table 2.1 and 2.2, and from the field 12.4 and 12.5 for methods that would align with your methodology. Okay, so the paradigm, the methodology, and the methods. And your book is going to help you to find the ones that are going to help you best answer the questions that you have about the problem of practice. And then finally, what do you hope to benefit? What do you hope the benefit of your study might have for your work as an educator? So why are you doing this? And nothing in the book is going to help you with that. That's just something that you have to honestly think about. Why would you study this? What benefit does it have to you? So this assignment is due at the end of Module 4. So you have all 4 weeks to do this, or more if you're starting the class earlier. And you may submit a draft at the end of Module 3. So if you have any hesitation about this whatsoever, I suggest that you submit a draft at the end of Module 3, and I'll be able to tell you exactly what you need to do to complete this. If you want to ask me a question before you submit the draft about you know, I'm really interested in reading recovery, or I'm so interested in the house system for middle school, or I just can't get enough of mindfulness in education. That's my field. And, you know, what kind of methodology might be helpful for this question, or how do I phrase a question that helps me to answer this? I love those kind of questions, and everyone else will too. So ask all of your questions. Ask each other if you want to, and do submit a draft at the end of Module 3. So here is another look, maybe all at one place, of the articles that you'll have to read and respond to. And on Western Online, the specific questions are listed in the assignment folder. So you'll be answering specific questions about these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 articles. You'll see some of these again, doing double duty for your analysis, right? And so there's questions about the article. The analysis is meant for you to understand the theoretical framing, the methodology, and the methods that are being used. So, and this is the skill that you're probably going to use most often when you're looking at models for your own research, is what's going on here? What is the researcher doing? How did they get there? What's going on here? And so you'll be critiquing their research in these articles. And so there's 4 of those for you to do, one for every week. And I've provided you with samples too. That might be something that you're interested in on Western Online. So home resources, there's resources for the problem of practice sketch. There's an example of the problem of practice sketch that I actually did myself. And where is the example? For the critique. Oh, it's attached. Okay, so you can see what a good critique looks like too. All right. So again, here I'm calling it article analysis, and Sharon was calling it critique. And so critique analysis is the same thing. End of chapter exercises, like I said, I'll say it again. Read the assignment folder for the question. Don't read the question in the back of the text. It's going to be tempting. You'll end up doing more work than you have to do because the textbook authors ask you for more than I do. I think they're assuming you have 16 weeks. So yeah, so here it looks like these are the ones I'm calling out that are specifically modified. I would avoid reading the book anyway, because I've had some people submit, answer every question when really I'm only asking for exercise 3, right? So don't get confused by the back of the book. Just look at the assessment folders for what you have to do. There's your link again to the companion website for quizzes. This is the final week, those 2 quizzes, each worth 50 points. These are so easy for you to do. Really want you to be able to get all your work done and then send those to me. And these are your standard policies. If I make any changes to the syllabus, not only will I email those to you, but I'll post them under the announcements as well. So always, always, always use and check your Western Illinois University email account. Don't correspond with your private accounts. We have to use Western's email for course-related business, and I will only be sending announcements to your Western account, so do use that. Kind of new, we do have a food pantry. This regards to the Quad Cities campus. This is where I work. Not sure if Macomb has a food pantry or not, but if you're interested, it's for students, staff, and faculty. Quad Cities does a good job, and contact those folks and find out what's going on over the summer. And if you're somewhere closer to the Macomb area, these folks can help you out too in accessing food and finding where the food pantries are and the resources for students in the Macomb campus as well. Let's see what else that I picked up for you. That might be it. So if you have any questions, don't hesitate to contact me. I am going to go on vacation this year from June 10th to June 27th. So I hope not to be answering emails during that time, but before then and after then, certainly I will. So I look forward to working with you, and I hope you have an enjoyable and safe summer. Thank you.